Welcome back. Welcome in. This is Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com. It's Paramount Podcast. I am Mike Casazza, joined by Chris Anderson. Chris, the champagne is on ice. I've been cutting up ticker tape all week. Um, Bowl eligibility, baby, on the line for Saturday. 5-5, West Virginia wrapping up a pretty disappointing home schedule that should not have been the case against a UCF team that is 4-6, still gunning for a bowl game, even though that didn't seem like it was going to be the case at the start of the season. Here we are again, Chris, end of the schedule, and you've just kind of got teams that are not where they thought they would be. This has been the couple weeks in a row now. Maybe not so much Cincinnati because they overachieved, perhaps. They may not get where we thought they were going to go. Baylor certainly cleared the bar late in the season. We are familiar with West Virginia's story. Chris, seemed like UCF was a bit of a sleeper team, had the coaching pedigree, really hit the portal hard and made some name additions. Started off 3-0, lost five in a row after that. They have started four quarterbacks this year. They fired their defensive coordinator. I'm going to assume special teams are rotten as well because of some of the rankings there. Um, they say misery loves company. There might not be a whole lot of people at Mountaineer Field on Saturday, but these two seem like they belong on the stage together.
Yes. Two things real quick. First, tell me, 40,000 in the stands and 55,000 claimed tickets purchased. Is that what we're thinking here? Something.
So, so I asked about that. Basketball is walk through the door attendance.
Uh-huh.
So like when we get like chuckles about sometimes, but oh yeah, there wasn't 9,100 people. They're like, actually there was because this is how we track it. I could buy that. I'm not sure it's that exact in football. Uh, That's a lot of tickets to scan, right? And you have the season tickets being sold, that number just looks better because you sold all your season tickets, never mind who bought them and hasn't come to the game since. I'd like to get a better idea about that one, but I don't know, Chris. It might that answer may vanish like Neil Brown's press conference from Monday afternoon on the WVU Sports YouTube page too. So yeah, it all could be a little bit misleading, but the eyes are going to be the judge and jury here, I'm sure.
Right. Next, well, it's not questions, comment. Are you sure that West Virginia is not bowl eligible right now?
Are
Because
we doing this?
yeah,
Every
I
year
just
we
want
do
to throw it
this, and
out.
I'm not
Somebody
sure.
else threw it out on the board, and I was like, oh my God, I forgot. 2 years ago, I did that whole rabbit hole thing. I went down and figured it out, and I think it was like the final Saturday. 9 teams had to lose, all 9 of them. And if all 9 teams lost, West Virginia was the next bowl pick at 5-7.
Mhm.
So I'm just planting the seed now. This is my version of your West Virginia has a chance to make the Big 12 championship game. Okay.
Okay.
So let me have my moment here because it's
Do you
it's
have the flow chart? Like what has to happen and who has to
it,
lose?
it's too early for that because we're still not in the hey, you're going to end up 8 teams short that are 6-6 or better. But given the glut of bowl games every single year, it is still a very real possibility. And West Virginia's APR has improved since 2 years ago, which, for those who do not know, if there are not enough teams at 6-6, the NCAA or the bowls then turn to 5-7 teams and extend invitations based off of APR. So West Virginia was down a little bit because I believe they were 979 2 years ago. They're 983 now. So they would be above a couple other teams that they might have otherwise been behind before. So
Hmm.
planting the seed for 5-7 in Birmingham, Mike, just laying it out there. Hey, keep the positivity. Guys were getting on us that our podcasts were too negative. So I just wanted to start us off on the right foot. A little 5-7 in Birmingham.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like people would not know what to do with themselves right
You ready
now.
to go? Expense that one. That's
I think
that's
you'd
an
have
easy
to
one.
send me, right? Just
Yeah,
for the
I
academic bowl.
honestly, I feel like we have to. Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's check on that one there too. Apathy knows no bounds, I suppose. We can figure out a
No.
way to get to the bowl game of their choosing. I mean, heck, last year they weren't supposed to be in the Mayo Bowl and they got invited anyway. So,
Yep.
I guess I wonder with the playoff being what it is right now and inviting more teams in, those on campus games gobble up some bowl teams.
Yeah.
So you figure there would be more openings in the traditional bowl system too. So this maybe not this particular scenario, but like you might see a lot of this happening because they got to fill up a couple spots, even if it's only a few. It's going to scoop up some 5-7 teams, I would think, right? I haven't
Yeah.
looked at it yet, too. I can tell you how
Uh,
West Virginia can get to Dallas. Cannot tell you how they get to Birmingham. That's all you, man.
All right. I'll keep tabs on Birmingham. You keep tabs on Dallas. Deal.
Real quickly here, what's we know West Virginia story. What's happened to UCF? Because I like them as I did not get the buzz at the start of the year. And then when I spent my summer like digging into things and upgrades and all that stuff, I like what they had going in their coaching staff. Whoops. Their additions. I wasn't a fan of their quarterback, but I thought they had quarterbacks on there like KJ Jefferson. Wasn't sure, and then apparently neither was he. I loved their running game and some of the backs they had there. I thought they had some really good receivers, like their offensive line and coach. And man, some of the front line defensive players they got in the portal, but also developed. You look at that could be a front that could really control the line of scrimmage in the Big 12, but just hasn't happened. And to lose five in a row, combination of conference non-conference games, yeah, it's uphill after that. But maybe they fixed it lately with the quarterback and a defensive coordinator change, but maybe too little, too late. Too this season should not be like this. Am I reading that wrong?
No, I'm with you. I might have been a little more on UCF or interested in UCF earlier in the season when you said, you weren't quite there yet. Because I was maybe a little bit of a sucker for the transfer rankings, but I was looking at some of those guys and I was just like, man, this guy's coming from Texas. This guy's coming from Washington. This guy's coming from Auburn and so on and so forth. And it was guys that I remembered as high school recruits that were extremely highly rated, 4 stars, very high 4 stars indeed. I believe what Hall that came from Texas was
Mhm.
darn near a 5 star. And so I was kind of in. I was like, man, this is a nice little combination. And some of these guys are on offense. You piece them together with Malzahn. If there's anything he is definitively good at, it's typically offense. So I thought they got the pieces. He's got the toys. This could be dangerous. And it's kind of just been a mess since, as you noted. Would you say 4 different quarterbacks that they've
Mhm.
gone through? They've already fired their defensive coordinator. Their special teams is a mess. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. Um, it all kind of boils down to this is a somewhat potentially exciting team. Like they have the offense, I think, to compete with a lot of people, but they're just such a mess pretty much everywhere else that it, they're 4-6, and here they are with West Virginia.
Some whispers, some whispers down in Orlando about changes down there. I don't know if they have their next head coach and their staff or not, but their offensive coordinator Darren Hinshaw has been um, I mean, he's a player there. He's kind of like, I don't know if a legend is right, but obviously pretty popular down there. I think I'm not saying he's coaching for his job, but if he ever wants to have a future in that program, like if he is the heir apparent, if Malzahn retires this summer, next summer, whatever, he's really got to get it going. And they do one thing really well on offense, but you also wonder if they're not going hair on fire these next 2 games to make sure they get to a bowl and make sure they validate a lot of their offseason stuff and whatever process they've had coming from the American and transitioning in you'd like to keep it going forward and not reset and do a restart 3 years into the Big 12, 4 years into the Big 12. That's problematic. So there's a lot of incentive. Never mind making a bowl game, which is the same on both sides here. Um, Probably an incentive for both coaching staffs here for again very different reasons. I don't think one's getting pushed out of the door in Orlando, but yeah, you go 4-8, it becomes hard to get like the yeses that you got before to spend and to acquire and all that. So should be interesting. Can I tell you something that's kind of funny, Chris, if I can find this right now. From the game notes that UCF provides, you see this all the time, you know, coach's record at halftime when they score first, when they score 20 or more points, all that stuff. And you see like if a team wins, it means this. If a team loses, it means this. So here's some UCF's game notes. A win against West Virginia would dot dot dot. First, give UCF its 300th all-time win as a program. That's pretty good. Give the Knights their third Big 12 win of the season, second on the road. Okay. Give UCF its first win against West Virginia in program history. Okay. A win against West Virginia would give UCF head coach Gus Malzahn his first win against West Virginia in his second meeting. Okay. A win against West Virginia would be better than a loss. It's it's actually in it. I couldn't believe it. I was very happy to see it. And so I'm glad they have a sense of humor down there in the Space Coast.
I remember, I think was it last year? Or maybe it might have been, I guess it must have been last year. As far as I don't know why I would otherwise be reading their game notes. Um, it was about, hey, we're not the gold. There's a bullet point. It was like, we're not the Golden Knights anymore. Please stop referring to us as the Golden Knights or like
Mhm.
refer to UCF as the Knights. And I think I had literally just put up a story that was like, you know, the Golden Knights are coming to Morgantown, or West Virginia's going down to play the Golden Knights. I was like, whoops, well, should have read the game notes first. So keep that in mind. Knights, not Golden Knights.
All right, let's get in this one. 3:30 ESPNU. Kirk Morrison's on the call. I like Kirk Morrison, one of the guys I
Again,
can listen.
2 weeks in a row.
Never
They
heard,
just stay in Morgantown.
maybe. I never heard of the other guy. Like, was he on the call last week too?
Yeah, they were. It's the same duo, same trio. Don Davenport on the sideline. All three of them, same as last week.
Not great, if I remember people saying.
Mm,
Okay,
eh.
that's fine.
Hey, when
Shows how
when you
much I'm.
had when you had what they had the 2 weeks prior, everybody looks great. So
It's tough. It's a tough gig. Let's start with the West Virginia offense, the UCF defense, because we're probably going to spend a lot of time on the UCF offense. But the West Virginia offense kind of rebooted last week. Gets Garrett Green back. Excellent first drive. Um, Answered the bell in the first half. A lot of challenges thrown their way because their defense really flat in the third quarter. And by the fourth quarter, probably too late. I'm not sure what UCF does well defensively, despite the talent. I do know that they kind of got a little bit of a jolt with the new defensive coordinator. They shut down Arizona, and I'm telling you, and I'll get to it. That game against Arizona State was not in the bag, but the bag was open, and UCF had the bag in the left hand and the game in the right hand, and was about to put the game into the bag, and it got away, um, because of the defense. But there's something there that just hasn't clicked. But there are, again, really good defensive lines, some active linebackers. I'm not so sure about the secondary. West Virginia wants to run the ball. Probably can't get by without Garrett Green making some big plays here too. And again, UCF's defense has given up some big passing days as well.
yeah, I'm looking at what they might be able to do well, and it. I mean, for most of the season, they're pretty good against the run.
Mm-hmm.
The rush defense, I what ranked 30th or whatever. But if you go game by game, these are like 67, 67, 58, 128, 130, 97, 5 rushing yards against Arizona, 99. And that's not five on like five, that's 25 attempts. Now, granted, sacks, etc., that deals into it, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their 10 games where they've held opponents under 100 yards rushing. Within there's this couple games, but I believe it was what led to eventually, right? Did the defensive coordinator get fired after BYU?
Yes.
That's like 2 weeks ago. So the two games right prior to that, right prior to him being fired, Iowa State and BYU, they gave up over 500 yards rushing in those two games, like over 5 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns. So there is a way to run the ball on them, but for most of the season, they've been pretty darn good at stopping the run. So I'm curious if West Virginia is going to be able to kind of find out what those weaknesses are and how to attack them because it has happened, just hasn't happened very often.
You're right. 31st in the country in rushing defense, 115.9 yards per game. West Virginia tries to, I don't know if that 140 is still a number, but when they run the ball, they're good. They're averaging just shy of 200, I think like 198 at this point. Going to be a top 30 rushing offense, top 31 rushing defense. So, yeah, strength meets strength right there. Trouble, Chris, though, is that the passing defense, not great. 93 in the country. Excuse me, hold on. That's passing offense. Passing defense, 96 in the country, 239 and a half yards per game. And I don't know, like I've learned more about passer efficiency this year and what type of a metric it is because it has to do a lot with, making plays on the ball as a defender. And West Virginia not good at that. Why they're one of the worst in the country at 128. Well, UCF's number 91. They just don't affect the ball very much back there. Not great on sacks. I think they average about a sack and a half per game, despite some talent on the defensive line. Not great when it comes to turning teams over. Interceptions, top 50 in the country. I think they had 9 or 10 right there. Nine, number 46 in the country. You got to throw it to them sometimes. They don't really make a ton of plays in the ball, and they've given up big numbers here too. Garrett Green, some criticism from Neil Brown that we can get into in a second, but down one target with no Traylon Ray. That probably means an influx of Preston Fox. I just have a hard time thinking that they're going to put Justin Robinson into a bigger role after that big fourth down drop last week. You get Jaden Bray back. I'm not sure how much he gives you, if he even plays. I've kind of heard some contradicting information on that. I'm not sure they're going to have all the bullets in the holster here, but do they got to run it more, or do they have to make do with their plan to pass the ball with whoever they have that can actually catch passes?
think you are going to. I haven't seen the lines. I don't have the DraftKings and everything like that for the individual player props here, but Garrett Green rushing. I honestly don't care what it is. Go with the over. Um, Again, it was there in the first half. It kind of died in the second half. The whole offense died in the second half for West Virginia against Baylor. But you go back and look at those two games that I mentioned, the 500 plus rushing yards in two games against Iowa State and BYU. Rocco Beck, quarterback for Iowa State. Everybody listening is probably familiar with him. You go look at his game log, his rushing game log. 7 carries, 4 carries, 4 carries, 4 carries for 3 yards, 4 carries for 8 yards, 4 carries for 7 yards. That's his typical game. Against UCF, 20 carries, 20 for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Hmm.
BYU's quarterback, Retzlaff, 8 carries, 16 yards, 6 carries, 62 yards, 4 carries, -10. Again, sacks involved here. The game where he rushed the most times, UCF, 14 carries against UCF. Again, 38 yards, but sacks were involved there. So he did have some positive yards before the sacks and a touchdown. This is a game where West Virginia, I believe, and Garrett Green in particular, I think could be topping 100 yards again on the ground. So I think that is where West Virginia is going to be able to attack them, even if UCF's pass defense is the true weakness on that side of the ball, of course.
Okay. Yeah, they have one guy who's I think he has 8 passes defended. BJ Adams. He hasn't played the last couple of games. One of their corners only played in 8 games this year. Hasn't played in a couple. And that's their one guy who actually makes plays in the ball. And then if you look at some of their numbers for completion percentages and stuff like that, you kind of see where they rank, where they do. I think like reception percentage, anybody who is taken like more than double-digit targets has given up more than 50% completions. That's not good, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. So I mean that's a pretty negative
But
aspect of
I,
defense
I
right
got
there.
something related to that too, Mike. I was,
Mhm.
but depending on when somebody is listening or watching this, you may have already read the story because I'm putting it up on the site. I was taught because you and I talked about in the post game pod last Saturday about how, God, why are West Virginia's linebackers and edge rushers always in pass defense? Like it feels like it's way too much, whether by scheme or design, it feels like too much. The answer, yeah, probably because I go through the entire Big 12 with some of these stats, and West Virginia ranks 14th in receptions allowed by linebackers and edge rushers. They rank 15th in yards allowed at those positions. Their passer rating allowed is as high as I think it's 14th, 15th out of the 16 teams in the Big 12. So it's bad. It's very
Mhm.
bad. That's not anything we don't already know. You know who's not great also at that?
UCF.
Yeah, UCF. They have given up the most receptions of any linebacking slash edge rusher team in the Big 12, and 81 of them. West Virginia has given up 64, which ranks 14th, I said, out of the 16 teams, and UCF is at 81
Ooh.
receptions allowed by linebackers and edge rushers. So, and a pretty high percentage, 81 out of 96. That's a good completion percentage, right? 81 out of 96. I feel like that's pretty good. And so if they're going to give that to West Virginia, to your point, that might be something they want to take too. Now, is that Cole Taylor? Is that Shaheem White coming out of the backfield, or is that Rodney Gallagher? Is it a Rodney Gallagher game, a Rick Darius Farmer game?
Probably not.
Let's see how they're going to scheme that up. But that is a susceptible portion of the UCF defense.
All right. Well, let's talk about this for a second then, Chris. In his first game back last week, we're not going to extrapolate this the entire season, although we can. Garrett Green in between 0 and 19 yards between the hashes, 10 of 18. He was 6 for 12 between the hashes on 0 to 9 yards, 4 for 6 from 11 to 19 yards. Middle of the field, middle of the field, middle of the field. Brown says they have to move the pocket and they got to get him screens and things like that. They threw one screen last week, and I'm sure the pocket moved or something. I can't remember the pocket moving. I don't remember any like bootleg or moving the pocket, rolling the pocket plays. And that's something because one, it gives him a chance to see the whole field, maybe run if he wants to, rather than having to step up in the pocket and find an alley to get out of there. You move the pocket, you have a chance, but also you get clear defenders. And I think one reason those numbers in the middle are so bad, especially the short ones, it's hard to see who's open. You're worried about 4 or 6 arms in the air knocking the ball down, coming at you. UCF has only had no one at UCF has batted down more than one pass. I think 5 guys have one batted down pass this year, so that's not a problem. But tall guys up front. You want to get them out there. The more concerning thing, though, Chris, is new defensive coordinator. What does he want to do? We saw Jeff Coons. He heated up Cincinnati and it worked. Didn't heat up the hottest offense in the country either well enough or often enough. But what can you do to West Virginia? Maybe heat up Garrett Green. Chris, when he was under pressure last game, do you know the numbers? When Baylor pressured him, according to Pro Football Focus,
No, I don't know. Tell him.
3 for 13 with an interception.
Yep.
That's not great. And again, blitzed 6 for 15. Trouble is when he's kept clean, he's 16 for 26, and that goes into some of the intermediate stuff we are talking about before. But do do you believe UCF has the capacity to get the quarterback, maybe not on the ground, but get him rattled and have him seeing things and feeling things, whether they're there or not?
Well, they have a couple guys. The big thing here for them, where that might give them a chance, and we've talked about this with other teams. Like, hey, they have a single guy that can rush the passer. I feel like, and the stats back it up, that UCF has a few guys. They seem to bring it from a few different directions, and they got three guys tied at the top of their team with pressures with 24. I mean, that's a good number for 10 games of 24 pressures. Is it the best? No, but it's a solid number, especially when you're spreading it out amongst three different people. So that's three different people that West Virginia has to be concerned about in Lee Hunter, Malachi Lawrence, and Ricky Barber, all with 24 pressures on the season. So yeah, I they are also going in through with the new defensive coordinator for only a couple weeks here, so we'll see how much that has changed over the last couple weeks, how much it might change this week, but for the season as a whole, they have brought pressure from a couple different guys.
Let's talk defensive line, offensive line. Did you notice that Brandon Yates got yanked last week?
I did not notice that until
No, same.
we pulled up the report card and the stats, or in your snap counts, I mean.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I know he had a snap infraction. Was it him or is it a false start? I can't
I mean,
remember.
it was one of those where I think they ended up technically calling a false start on somebody else because I believe I pulled that up on the penalty stuff on the stat broadcast for another story I was doing, but it was one of those where like five guys moved and you could have called on anybody, I
Okay.
feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the game and I got my binoculars on for most of the time, and obviously that's somebody you pay attention to because of what happened. But maybe I just was fooled by his appearance in the media last week and just thought, oh, they'll never pull him. But he missed. I mean, he was out for I think 2 full series, 16 plays. Maybe at the end of the game when what the heck, let's give the other guy a chance. But that's a development. And again, UCF, they're going to be an even front. West Virginia's seen odd fronts forever. That's fine. But boy, they have big guys inside. Like Hunter's like an all conference caliber talent and size and skill and everything like that. Lawrence is an edge guy. I think Nigel Kelly from Miami. I think he might bounce around inside and outside. I'm not sure, but they have guys who can do that there too. They just and then West Virginia's offensive line. I don't think they were a problem last week, but they're gonna have to if this is gonna be a Green throwing the game, Green throwing screens, Green throwing deep, Green getting outside the pocket, they're gonna need something there. And oh, by the way, run block against an adequate run defense.
Let me pull up some here. What was I going to look at? Oh yeah. Um, and there it is. This is I wonder if this is also going to come into play with some of the red zone things. Because one of the first things I noted when I was looking stuff up
Mhm.
with UCF's defensive line was again some of that rushing those couple weeks where they really gave up some big rushing yards, but more specifically, they got destroyed in the red zone. Destroyed in the red zone.
Mhm.
And I have UCF, and this is where I think West Virginia, if West Virginia wants a chance to win this game, this is where it's going to come down to because UCF 82nd in the country in touchdown red zone defense. That means like the percentage of time that teams score a touchdown, and 118th in red zone scoring period. 91% of the time teams score when they get in the red zone. West Virginia's offense, I don't know if people know this, they rank number 13 in the country in red zone touchdown percentage. Like when they get in the red zone, they score a touchdown 74% of the time, 3 out of 4 times, which ranks number 13 in the country. This is one of those games where when the post game pod is going on, we're talking about, hey, West Virginia, 5 of 5 in the red zone with 4 touchdowns, something along those lines. So that's where I think it's going to be key for West Virginia and where they should be able to take advantage of UCF's defensive line. I got something for you, Mike, and I think this is abnormal. I have not gone through and checked this with every single team, but 22 starting positions, correct, as far as the NCAA is concerned, of who is out on the field for the first snap of a game, right?
Correct.
Okay, take away the 5 offensive linemen. Traditionally, offensive linemen, other than injuries, are going to start. So 17 other spots. Out of those 17 other spots, how many players for UCF do you think have played or have started all 10 games?
All right. Not gonna be a lot, I'm guessing, because we're having this
I
question.
would otherwise wouldn't ask this question, right?
How about five?
Lower
Really? Three?
3. I got
That's not
Kobe
good.
Kobe Hudson,
Okay.
RJ Harvey,
Uh-huh.
and where was the third one? Ethan Barr,
So one
linebacker.
defensive player, two offensive players.
That's it. And then
Ooh.
again, I think 4 of the 5 offensive linemen as well. But take away the offensive linemen, so there's 17 other spots. Only 3 of them have started in all 10 games so far this season. So injuries, changes, depth chart changes, all sorts of different things for them trying to figure something out. So that seems low to me. Maybe while we're talking here, I'll pull up West Virginia's and see if it's just normal. I don't know.
Okay. I'll give you something on UCF here though too before we transition to the other side of the ball. This does have to do a little bit with defense, but they I don't know, their schedule is I'm not gonna go into the rankings, whatever, but their schedule is difficult, I think. New Hampshire, Sam Houston State, and Florida in non-conference play. So Florida's a big bite. That's a rivalry game. They had to go to the swamp, lost that one. In Big 12 play at TCU, against Colorado, against Cincinnati, at Iowa State, at BYU back to back, open week. No, actually they were off. They played after the BYU game. Um, that's a big chunk there, and that's maybe has to do with their schedule. And I don't know. A lot of our record has to do with who we're playing. One of those things. They beat Arizona 56-12. They put the new quarterback in, but the defense was good that game, and the defense had a chance to be good against Arizona State. Arizona State's had like a magical season here, but let's go to a drive here in the second quarter. It's late in the first half, Chris, and the UCF defense is getting after Arizona State. They have a second and 13 at the UCF 47. So Arizona State on the 47. It's a sack, a loss of 10, 13 or third and 23 coming up, 2:18 left in the half. Face mask on Nigel Kelly, defensive lineman, first down. 3 plays later, they're in the end zone. 4 plays later, they're in the end zone. It goes from UCF getting the ball 17-7 with 2 minutes left to UCF defending a 17-14 lead with 53 seconds left in the half. And then I don't know why the kick goes to like the 9 yard line, and they return the ball for a yard. A really weird thing happens here, and then all of a sudden the quarterback's throwing the ball with 47 seconds left. It gets picked off. It's a terrible play. Pick six. It's 21-17 Arizona State, like that. Home team Arizona State rolling after that one. They were staggered. Like the UCF defense was doing good things. That face mask, the free first down, the pick six in a bad spot, it just snowballed out of the way. I think that there's a chance this team is the product of its schedule, but might also come out on the other side of it that's good at the end of the season. And perhaps you've seen that with them taking care of an inferior Arizona team. And even with that huge momentum swing, it's a 35-31 loss against Arizona State. And they were in it. Just a quirky thing happens. That's college football. I get that. You get those swings, but I just circled that one thing watching it live, actually watching the replay of it, flipping through it, going, that was strange. I wonder if that's going to matter. And it certainly did. And really, Rizek, the new quarterback, hasn't made many mistakes like that, but that was a huge sequence right there, and pin that because their record is what it is. But you can explain a lot of teams' records, and this is certainly one too. Do you have the answer now, Chris?
Do West Virginia has 6 players that non-offensive linemen that have played or started all 10 games so far this season. Would you like to take a guess? Here, let me put you on the spot. Go ahead. I'll
All
tell
right, Gene
you
White.
Raheem White. There you go. Let's see. One, two, three,
White.
four. All 5 other ones are on
I
defense.
was gonna say because I know Taylor didn't, obviously Clement didn't, Ray didn't, so we're going to the other side. That would be Trotter.
Nope. Remember, he didn't start last game.
Oh, that's right. Shoot. Sean Martin,
Yep.
Patorma Moba,
Yep.
Anthony Wilson.
Yep. You're at 4. 2 more.
Good Lord, really? Um, no way.
You could be kicking yourself.
And they're on defense.
2 defenders that have started all 10 games, technically, according to
Oh,
the sheet
okay. That's
provided to
maybe.
the NCAA.
All right, Trey Lathan. And I should have known
Yep.
Bradley. Should have known Bradley.
Tyron Bradley. There you
Yeah,
go.
I forgot about Latham. That's a good one.
Yep. And so a couple guys that obviously are close. Garnett Hollis apparently did not start against Kansas. I mean, I just don't
Correct.
remember it off the top of my head. You noted Hudson Clement missing the Cincinnati game. Jaheim Joseph did not start the season opener. Otherwise, he started 9 of them. Trotter missed the last game or didn't start the last game. Cole Taylor and Traylon Ray, there was each a game where they were not out for the first snap,
Yep.
whatever, for whatever reason, whatever formation West Virginia was in for those plays. And that's Wyatt Milan missed Arizona.
Used the
So that
game.
was
Yeah.
9. That was 9 as well for him. But I mean, we're not talking offensive lineman, but
The game
there
that
you
Ray
go.
didn't
So
start. The game that Ray didn't start was when I wrote about how he had the first touch in like 7 straight games. I'm like, screw you, Mike. We're not even gonna start him this game. And then he
I
gets
was wondering how you knew that so well. I was like, how did you already eliminate Traylon Ray? What the heck?
he gets in and he immediately catches a quick pass right away on the second snap of the game. And I was like, I see what you did there. So now what's gonna happen is that UCF's gonna win the coin toss and Neil's gonna kick to start the game just so he can stick that one on my face too. Don't do it, Neil. Stick with your guns, I promise. Let's switch sides of the ball right now. The West Virginia defense or whatever iteration we're going to have of that out there against UCF's offense. Man, Chris, this game is a front 6-7 game for sure.
Yes, it is. Are you ready for my front and running talk?
Yes, I'm excited about this because this is a fun offense to watch. Their line is good. They do some fun stuff. You watch their line, they're good. And that's Herb Hand, who's ended up having a pretty
Yep.
nice career, but for a guy who wanted to be the offensive line coach here and just never got the chance. Um, Big positions, big schools, and he's at UCF for a couple of years now. Um,
All right. Well, there's a lot we're going to talk about.
Harvey's
Yeah.
awesome. Their quarterback's good. They slip in a
Yeah.
second running back or second quarterback to run. This is a fun offense to watch.
Well, I'm going to talk about the offensive line. That's what I'm going to start with since we're going to talk to front here. I'm going to quiz you again, Mike.
Mhm.
There are 4 teams that West Virginia has faced so far this season that, on average, their rushing attack gets 2 or more yards downfield before they make first contact with a defender, which to me means good offensive line blocking and or a good offensive scheme.
Mhm.
Would you like to take a guess at who those 4 teams are?
All right, Penn State.
Yep, 2.7 yards. They're the most. They're
All
number 1.
right, Cincinnati.
Nope,
Really?
nope,
Not Pitt, right?
nope.
I'm trying to go with my head here. We're not counting the FCS team. I'm hoping because I don't think Albany's that good.
I
Mm,
don't have their stats. I don't think they're getting 2+ yards, but
Would Baylor?
Baylor 2.2.
Okay,
They're number 4. Penn State
can't
number
be
1. Baylor
Oklahoma
number 4.
State. I believe Iowa. Oh, Kansas.
Kansas 2.3. They're number 3.
Okay, and then
In
I'm guessing
purple,
Iowa State or Kansas State here. So I'm going to go. I like the quarterback run. Let's go Kansas State.
Kansas State 2.6, number 2.
Okay.
So
Okay.
those are the 4. The
Surprised by
foremost.
Cincinnati because I thought they had a running back who could pop out, but they do. Man, they do
I
so
think
much
it's
out.
mostly him because I think he's like number 2 in the country and missed tackles for. So I think he's getting a lot of it himself. But so those are the 4 teams that get at least 2 yards downfield before first contact. Let me break down the stats of those 4 teams against West Virginia. Baylor, 5.4 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns rushing the ball. Kansas, 5.3 yards per carry and 3 touchdowns. Kansas State, 4.4 and 2. Penn State, 5.3 and 1. Every
Okay.
team that has gone for at least 2 yards before they have to meet a defender has done extremely well against West Virginia on the ground. If they have not, they have not against West Virginia. Mike, would you like to take a guess how far downfield UCF gets before they meet a defender?
And I guess it's north of 2 yards.
Uh, Higher, Mike. It's
Is it
north of
3?
3 yards,
Is it really? Wow.
3.1 yards downfield, the most in the Big 12, one of the highest in the country. I have not taken the time to literally go through all 134 teams, but it is definitively, clearly, the most yards of any team that West Virginia has or will face this season. That sells trouble for West Virginia because,
It's an inside zone team, too. They don't really do a lot of stretch stuff. They go right through the middle on you, too. That's impressive.
yeah, 3.1 yards downfield before they reach a defender on average. That is tough, tough stuff.
So let me ask you this. I was talking to someone a while ago about just I think I maybe even mentioned this in a podcast, but when you have a good rushing offense against a good rushing defense, the good rushing defense tends to do well or can do well because principally to stop a run is to hold your edges and to fill your gaps on each assignment.
Yep.
And if you're good at that, you're gonna take a game plan, you're gonna take practice reps, and you're just gonna know what to do. You have discipline and you're familiar with your roles at your position, and in relation to the people in front of you and the people on your level. Um, what would this say that the teams that excel at running the ball have excelled at running the ball against West Virginia because they fancy themselves a good rushing defense? I'm not sure how true that is. It just happens to be the best thing that they do. Um, Fair to say they can be had as a rushing defense.
Yeah, I think we got our answer with some of the comments from the coaches, including Neil Brown after the Baylor game, where it was like, "Hey, how did what was it the four? Maybe Jeff Coons said it too, or both of them, I believe. But a couple of those long rushing touchdowns for Baylor, and it was like, hey, one guy didn't keep the edge, and one guy filled the wrong gap, and that was it. He was gone,
Mhm.
and I mean poor tackling as well. But those were something they mentioned, and that's not the first time I've heard them mention that, where guys just fill the wrong gap. Five guys are going to the wrong spot or didn't keep the edge, and that's where West Virginia gets eaten up. And so it's going to take discipline. The question is, does this defensive line, do these linebackers have the discipline to fill those gaps and do exactly what you just said, where it was up to, hey, if you just do this on repeat and you watch, learn the game plan and know what you're supposed to do and do it, you're going to end up all right.
Yeah.
But that's easier said than done.
How about their collection of running backs?
Mhm.
Like they have four good guys in their team. Johnny Richardson has had some big seasons there. This is his fifth year. He had 700 yards in 21. I think last year he was north of 500 yards. He is deep on the depth chart this year. Hasn't played a whole lot. Hasn't gotten a lot of carries. Penny Boone, who previously played at Louisville
Yep.
and Toledo. Is that right?
I
Was it
can't
Louisville?
remember before. I can't remember before Louisville, but he was definitely at
It was
Louisville.
a red. Maryland. I think Maryland. And then yeah, Harvey is awesome. I think everybody understands that. They also have Miles Montgomery, who was the backup at Cincinnati last year. They have runners. It just turns out, Chris, that their backup running back, their number two running back, is their backup quarterback, Ja'Curry Brown, who has started a couple games, and they've slipped him in lately to run some goal line stuff. I think he has like 6 carries and 2 touchdowns the last 3 games. They use him situationally, but what does it matter? Because Harvey's awesome. I mean, there's 1,300 yards and 19 touchdowns, and one of the again doesn't get a ton of carries a game, like not even 20 a game, but he's just very productive at what he does.
Yeah, I remember, I think on our preview pod at this time last year, we were talking about Johnny Richardson. I was like, hey, man, I remember him coming to West Virginia's camp and he was amazing. The problem was he was like 5'6", 5'5". I think he's listed at 5'7". That's a lie. But he was very good. And we were talking about him being such a threat last season as a backup. And to your point, what is he, fourth string? Again,
Yeah,
fifth string if you're counting the quarterback with him. Um, how do you how do you convince these guys to come in here? Like, hey, we got the top two running backs coming back. Why don't you guys leave Louisville and leave Maryland or Cincinnati and come here and maybe you'll get 5 carries a game.
I have 3 reasons.
Yeah, money. Oh, I like it.
That's it. Yeah, I mean the
But
NIL is
sorry
pretty
for
good.
anybody who's listening, but that was a video hint. Sorry.
Yeah, they have a good NIL thing going there for sure. They don't have a great quarterback thing going. They spent their money on KJ Jefferson. They've also started, let's see, EJ Colson, who is a hotshot freshman that I guess they're going to end up redshirting now. They tried him for 2 starts, didn't work. They played Ja'Curry Brown, who is, again, a talented recruit prospect from the University of Miami. They've settled on Dylan Reisig, who's just been there for, I think he's a redshirt freshman now. 6'2", 205, looks good. Came out of nowhere though, Chris. I don't think anybody was expecting this out of their open week. And his first start, I guess he came in off the bench against BYU and got them going. They were not open. I keep saying that. And then 20 of 25, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then against Arizona State, they were off last week, of course. 24 of 34, 229, and again, the costly interception. But again, his adjusted completion percentage, Chris, pin this, is 80%.
Yep.
13 for 13 on screens. He doesn't go deep a whole lot. They've really managed what they've built around him pretty well. The offense just looks different, more confident. In 2 starts now, you're looking at 44, for 59 passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and about 260 yards a game. It's kind of what they need from the spot.
Absolutely. One of the first things I noted when I was trying to look up some stats and seeing what was different about when he started and when the other quarterbacks were playing,
Mhm.
look at their completion percentage, just completion percentage. We'll talk more about the depth and where it's going in just a second, but against FBS opponents, 50%, 59%, 57%, 54%, 56%, 40%, 51%. Then Rizek comes in, 80%, 71%. Like he's not making some amazing throws. He's just making the throws that he's being asked to make, which are short, intermediate throws, as you noted. 2/3 of his throws are 10 or 9 yards or less, or even behind the line of scrimmage. So he's not exactly trying to light you up downfield, but he is completing them. He's completing them at a very high percentage. There's one other thing that he does that is a trend that West Virginia can maybe shift to, shade to, try to exploit. 87% of his pass attempts are center right,
Mm.
whether that's by scheme or not progressing through, like he's not throwing to his blind side. And typically when you're a right-handed quarterback throwing to the left side, you are, other than like maybe a couple very specific throws, like an out pattern or a deep pass, going back to your blind side is typically down the progression tree of your passing when you're going down. You're looking right, you're looking center, you're looking deep, then you go left. So either he's not progressing that forward, or it's not schemed that way, that they are just trying to get the ball out quick. So they're hitting center, they're hitting right, they're hitting short, and just getting it done and over with. So West Virginia can, maybe should, especially if they're going to be dropping 7 or 8, shift a few more guys center right, or I guess on the defensive side, center left, to try to shut down his passing lanes, or at least
Yeah,
clog them up.
6 for 10 on deep balls, Chris, 3 touchdowns. So he's found something there, and he's 5 for 7 in that deep right quarter. So like deep right corner. So you're right. He's got his eyes somewhere too. And to that point, they do a lot of play actions. About half his dropbacks are play action, which probably makes sense. Give him a fair chance. And with that running game, play action is going to be effective, obviously. Um, 7 scrambles on play action. He has not scrambled on any other pass play. Like not a quick pass, not a screen pass, not a go through your reads pass. He's not scrambled. So play action, if it's not there, whether it's something quick or something deep, he's running. And he's thrown away just 4 passes, and those are all on play action too. So when he's got a chance to do something, he's safe. He's not really risking it or not putting the ball in jeopardy. And if you look at his turnover worthy plays in his 3 games he's played, his 2 starts, just 1, Chris. And that's kind of what you're looking for. And of course, the turnover worthy play was a huge one we talked about that he probably should not have made, obviously. But he's been effective there. And truth be told, has some talent around him too. Like they have receivers there, including one. I don't know if he's the best in the Big 12, but Kobe Hudson, he deserves to be in that conversation of talented Big 12 receivers.
Yeah, he's a good player. And again, to your point, like if you have all of these rushing options, if you have this amazing rushing attack and this really good offensive line, why ask your quarterback to do more than, hey, complete some short passes that you're comfortable with and don't turn it over? That's perfect. Do it that
Mhm.
way. You can see why they stuck with him. And yeah, Kobe Hudson, big time guy. Best in the Big 12. You ready to go? You ready to go there, Mike? Ready
No,
for
I
that?
said he's in that conversation. He's a
Okay.
talented player. I think he'll be a pro.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
he was a big time recruit out of high school. Auburn, I think. Yeah, Auburn. And actually found success there and then left. And, I for reasons, who knows? But
Video exclusive. Yeah.
yeah, again, video exclusive there. Sorry, folks. But he has had consistent success for 4 full seasons now. So he has been a full 4-year contributor to high major college football. So yeah, I'm with you. He is a threat. He is a guy that's probably going to be playing on Sundays. So West Virginia is going to have to kind of mark him on that side of the ball. Do we need to go back to RJ Harvey a little more?
I had some Jacoby Jones takes for you, but we can go to
Oh,
RJ
yeah,
Harvey.
no,
I have
please.
plenty of room for RJ Harvey.
Well, go ahead and get your Jacoby Jones in, and then we'll go
Watch
back
him.
to
He's
Harvey.
he's a number 2 receiver, 20 catches, 12 are on third or fourth down this year. PFF has him as the number 1 third and fourth down receiver. What does that mean? I don't know. It just means that when situations are tight for a quarterback, a lot of people are going to look at Hudson. You're going to bracket him, double him, smother him, whatever. Well, Jacoby Jones is going to be there. And since Rizek has taken over the past 3 games, you were looking at 18 catches, 277 yards receiving, back-to-back 100-yard games. The quarterback change is worth there. It's obviously opened up their passing game a little bit. You can count on Hudson. I think we agree. Best receiver ever, right? I think you said that, Chris. Jacoby Jones is gaining on him because the quarterback change has helped him. Now let's go back to the handoffs.
Hold on
RJ
Jones. You
Harvey.
know why? Hey, to your point on Jones, when you're 6'3", 230 pounds, that's a pretty comfortable,
Helps.
security blanket for a new quarterback, especially when you're throwing short and over the middle. So yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Right. No, you're right. I'm going to hand it off to you for RJ Harvey stuff because, again, I can't get enough of that.
All right. 60 missed tackles, fourth most in all of Power Four football.
Crazy.
743 yards after contact, fifth most in Power Four football, and more than 100 yards more than Jaheim White has total yards rushing so far this season. Sorry, I had to tie it back into West Virginia. Not trying to knock Jaheim White. He's obviously splitting carries with Donaldson, but he's got 639 yards carrying on the year. Harvey has 743 after contact. So, and he, along with the others, again, there are a plethora of guys there and a couple of quarterbacks they swing in. Number 2 rushing offense in the country overall. That's pretty standard. But a stat that really stands out to me, 6.5 yards per carry on first down. 6.5 yards on first down alone. We talk a lot about, hey, get into manageable downs, stay ahead of the sticks, get the 3rd and 3. You're 3rd and 3 on second down already. Like you're at 2nd and 3 based off of just running the ball, much less throwing it. So this is an offense that can get ahead of the sticks, and it's going to take a lot of work to get them off the field.
Got a tight end too, Chris.
Oh God,
Just want to
people
put it out
still
there.
put those out there. That's a problem. I thought West Virginia said you can't do that anymore.
No, yeah. They're pretty good on 3rd and 4th down too. If you go to College Football Insiders, their success rate on 3rd and 4th down, top 25 in the country. They're going to succeed and do what they want. About 46% of the time. West Virginia's defense on 3rd and 4th down, 133 in the country. So that's not fortuitous for West Virginia. What's also interesting too is their success rate when they run the ball. 51% of the time they succeed. That's pretty good. West Virginia's defensive success rate against the run, 43rd. So that is what they do best. They're not great at it. 43rd is not an elite number, but that's going to be their best counter to what they do offensively there too. So if West Virginia cannot stop the run in this game, if they're giving up big pop plays, if they're giving up 7 yards of carry on first down, 3rd and 4th down is very easy if you even get into those. And again, the trouble is that some of the stuff that West Virginia does offensively, UCF struggles with too. For example, West Virginia decent on 3rd and 4th down, UCF's defense not. You're going to have situations like that where you're going to have to do something that you're supposed to do pretty well, either because you do it well or the other team can't stop it. And if you cannot check those boxes, you're not going to win this game. And that would include running the ball for UCF, stopping the run for West Virginia. Don't know how else you can explain that one more simple than that, but it kind of comes down to something. You look at 10 games, you say, okay, that's kind of who these teams are and what they are. And you go from there. Anything else on this matchup on this side of the ball, Chris?
I got 2 little nuggets that I'm not sure where they should go. I mean, this should go on offense easy, so that's pretty easy. But UCF first quarter points, 58. That's it. Fourth quarter points, 67. Second and third quarter, 205 combined. They have over 100 points in the second quarter, over 100 points in the third quarter. So they like to get in there in the middle there, score some points. Like that third quarter one's more saying, obviously second quarter, sometimes you've already started the drive when the first quarter ends. So that's why second quarter oftentimes ends up higher. But third quarter, 100 points in the third quarter, that's one where they really outscore some of their opponents and something to keep an eye on when they come out of break. Because I'm assuming West Virginia will start with the ball in the game and UCF will start the second half with it, Mike. I saw that stat somewhere. I'll have to check and see where it was.
Someone came up with it just recently.
Just
I
very
wish I
recently.
had. I honestly, I haven't done the Gus Malzahn research here, but I've been looking at what other coaches have done for the past several weeks. I'm just wondering, like, this is clearly a thing that West Virginia wants to do.
Yeah.
Don't let them do it. Like, make them uncomfortable. Make them start on defense first. And I wonder, like, if Malzahn wins the toss, does he say, no, screw it. We're gonna kick to start the game, and go from there. I don't know if that'll happen, or if he's gonna say, no, actually, we want the ball. We don't want West Virginia to be in their comfort zone, because I think any little disruption here is a good one, because so much at stake. And also, teams are so pattern oriented 10 games and 11 games into the season. Just disruptions and ripples, they matter sometimes. And that would be, if you're off on the front foot here versus off on the back foot, it takes you a while. And all of a sudden, you're in that second quarter, Chris, and you're getting outscored by 100 points, then you can't get that time back. I just wonder if that's an advantage for UCF right now. But who knows? We'll see.
One
Your
more
other
little
nugget?
thing. Yeah. 118th in punt return yards allowed. UCF.
So bad on special teams. It's crazy.
Yeah. So little Preston Fox, I haven't seen him yet, break the big one, but I could see Preston Fox having 3 returns for like 60 yards, something like that. Something that you may not think about now, you may not think about after the game, but it'll be significant. So keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I was trying to find if I can. I might be able to pull this up quickly enough, but like Baylor was one of the best special teams units in the country this year, and then also I think it was number 1 in the country last year. And I'm not going to get it. Here we go. If I can find it, UCF is not. UCF is 95th in special teams and surrounded by the likes of North Texas, Mississippi State, Jacksonville State, who I heard is pretty good, Chris.
Don't stop.
I don't know why that's come into my attention, but they're not good on special teams, right? And then West Virginia, again, has been pretty good all year on special teams, 14 in the country. And then if you look in that neighborhood, there's some teams there that are 1-9, 4-5, 4-6, 6-4, like not great teams. It's kind of a weird thing. Like, how are good teams not great on special teams? Like the best special teams in the country, Kentucky. Number 2, Florida State. Number 3, Vanderbilt. Number 4, Wisconsin. Number 5, Baylor. Those are all teams that have no more than 6 wins, no fewer than 4 losses. So what does it mean? I don't know. We spend too much time in the numbers, I think. But yeah, this one will be a mismatch of special teams and field position. And again, if you make UCF's offense work harder, that's an advantage that West Virginia's defense certainly needs here. Got to
Well,
have better punting for sure.
now that you've besmirched Vanderbilt, I think we better wrap this up.
Sounds good. Vanderbilt keeping teams alive in the CFP hunt too. They're 6-4. SEC is pretty good at football, I heard. All right, I have the fresh set coming out Friday morning by the numbers soon thereafter. Got some videos, some stories still to watch and write. Chris, what do you have left before we kick off?
We got a couple more recruiting updates coming up. New offers going out. West Virginia targeting a couple JUCOs, junior college players. Not really been a hot spot with all the transfers and stuff. They've kind of been forgotten, and a couple of these guys can slip through the cracks and really be helpful. 2 weeks to National Signing Day, Mike. So something's going to happen here next couple of weeks. Got to keep tabs on guys. New offer, Florida State, speaking of, offering one of West Virginia's top commits, trying to get him to flip, trying to get him to visit right before signing day. We'll have updates with that. We'll have updates from the basketball game that happened last night. So keep checking out the site up until game time on Saturday.
What a game last night between Iona and West Virginia, huh?
Absolutely.
Thrilling stuff.
Thrilling.
Can't wait to write more about it today. Hopefully you all will hang on and pay attention to us as we write basketball, as we talk about football. Just 2 more games left in the regular season, then who knows what to follow. Talk about a bowl game, of course. We'll see. Until then, I'm Mike Casaza.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We will talk to you then.